Let me start up. Last year, I delivered my first State of the City, reviewing our progress during my first 3 years as mayor. Tonight, I want to provide an update on some of the achievements of this past year and our goals for the coming one. To place this in historical context, Beacon has made a spectacular transformation in the 30-plus years since I first joined the City Council in 1993. From a down-and-out factory town with a largely boarded-up Main Street into a rejuvenated small city with a thriving Main Street, preserved history, and natural beauty, the envy of the Hudson Valley. That transformation did not happen by miracle or accident, but rather through rethinking the city's direction, thoughtful zoning, and other changes documented in our comprehensive plan, and then decades of gradual change led by those who love and serve this city. Yet we face new challenges today. How do we complete updating our 100-year-old infrastructure? How do we thoughtfully manage growth and development? How do we continue to improve our quality of life? How do we do our part to ease a national housing shortage and support everyone in our community? How do we finance all this while not overburdening taxpayers? So, how have we done? Beacon, I'm proud to report to you that the state of our city continues to be excellent. The things I'm going to talk about are on that page on the screen. In the past year, we've maintained financial discipline, and I do always start there, enjoying more than $1 million increase in sales tax from our new agreement with the county, and keeping our tax increase below the state mandated property tax cap. We did that while breaking ground on a new central fire station, making record infrastructure investments, improving our quality of life, continuing our climate leadership, and providing high-quality, professionally run government. So let me give you some of the details, and we'll start and go in that order, okay? So first, I wouldn't be me if I didn't start with some numbers on the table. So in terms of financial position, Beacon remains in the best position it's been in decades. Throughout my 30 years of service to the city as a council member and now as mayor, I have always been the taxpayers' fiscal watchdog, working to limit property tax increases while expanding services and investing in the city's infrastructure. Let me start with a big one that's on the right. And so that particular graph shows our sales tax revenue from 2011 to 2024. And you can see in those first couple years, it was around $5 million total and then dropped almost $1 million. That was the first year of the older tax deal. So we lost close to $1 million. And then our growth rate, and you can see that, didn't grow that much. And that was the second problem with that deal. So we renegotiated. I had a ton of fun because I got to be a numbers geek. And you can see the numbers. Our first full year this year was $5.8 million compared to 4.6. And this year we're expecting it to probably exceed 6 million. All right, so it's a huge number. That really was a watershed for us. So 2003 was that first year, the 10-year sales tax sharing agreement that I negotiated with the county. We gained more than $1 million, as you can see, in additional sales tax revenue last year. That's going to grow to more than $2 million, really meaning close to 7 million over time, right? And to put this into context, an extra $1 million plus in sales tax revenue is equal to 10% of our property tax base. So think about it as a way of saving a 10% increase on your property taxes. And we can put that money to use without raising our property taxes further. So it's a huge component. It's actually the component that allowed me to go forward with the firehouse, because the piece I had to put in place was the financing. So that's been a huge win for us. Other things, it also allows us, well, it's not just that, but we have lower property tax rates, and that's the number that you're charged per $1,000 of assessed value on your property. That's the chart on the left on the bottom. And what you see there are two rates. The top one is the non-homestead rate. The non-homestead rate is the one applied to commercial properties and apartments more than 3 units. And then the lower of those two is the homestead rate, meaning the rate applied to homeowners 1, 2, and 3 family. So we have 2 rates in Beacon. What you can see going from 2011 to 2024 is it turned south as we've continued to appreciate in value. We're now down to our lowest homestead rate of $5.9 per $1,000 of assessed valuation since 2010. Right? And that number will continue to decline. And so what that means is even though your property value might increase, because we're dropping the rate, the actual tax that you're going to pay is much more moderated. And that's how we can deliver to the community much more modest property tax increases. Right? So those lower rates, that appears on our $35 million budget, and it will continue to come down over time, and I can assure you that increasing your property values is not going to translate into tax increases of anywhere near the number of your assessed value increase, all right? And each year as we come in with the assessments, I'll do some sort of video to kind of take you through what you should be expecting, all right? Not only are the rates coming down, but we've managed to keep down the property tax increases. That's going to be the bottom right chart. So in addition to keeping tax rates low, we are committed to minimizing any tax increases. The mayor's 2024 budget kept the overall increase in total property taxes to 2%. That's despite higher inflation, in that 2 to 4% range, and well below the state's allowable cap, right? And we're fully committed to continuing this policy as we kind of move forward. All right. So what I want to show you on that bottom right chart is those are the latest 4 years, 2021, 2, 3, 4. That first number is the total growth of the levy, the property tax levy, meaning how much extra do we ask of all property owners in total, right? So you can see 2.6%, 4.6, 1.72, pretty small numbers to begin with. CPI inflation is on the bottom, so you can do your own comparisons, but we stay below inflation, which takes work, right? Because we still see the same inflation everyone else does. Then, of that increase, that first line, the second line is telling you how much of it is coming from new construction, all right? So remember, we have a lot of new construction coming through because we had years and years of our urban renewal land, which tore down homes, laying fallow because we weren't very popular and we didn't get a lot of construction. That new construction adds to our tax base on the order of 1.5% to almost 3 or 4%, depending on how much new construction comes in. The way to look at that is those are new property taxpayers. And so a part of our growth is being paid for by the new folks, right? And that those new construction that occurs. And the difference is the part that existing properties have to pay. That's the third line. When you look at that line, 1.4%, 0.9, 0, and 0.5, we can't keep doing that every year, but we're trying to do that as often as we can to keep tax increases for existing properties low, and we do it a couple of different ways. We do it by the sales tax deal that we did, by increased fees for haulers on septage and other things where we can charge others, and then the new construction component. And so that new construction is helping us pay for all of the quality of life increases you're going to see in the budget, covering inflation more than we need to ask our taxpayers to do for us. And so I think that's an important part of making the budgets work. It's one of the areas I worry the most and try to make these things work. I spent a lot of time with the city administrator and our finance director on these items. The last thing I'll say in this area is just that we have a very strong bond rating, right? We've maintained our AA2 Moody's bond rating, which is one of the best in the region. And that allows us to borrow money at lower interest rates. We're about to have to go to bond market for the firehouse. Because we have a AA2 rating, we're able to borrow at a much lower rate than other places. The city of Poughkeepsie just had a bond rating improvement, but they were close to junk because they had problems with their fund balance. So that's the piece I wanted to get to first, and that sets the stage for all the things that we'd want to do. And as long as we keep, doing our homework well on the finance side, we can do a lot. And let me talk to you about some of that. So the second one I want to talk about is public safety. This city, again, I have 30 years of perspective, is a safe community. with great police and fire teams. Our biggest ongoing challenge is a national one, which is dwindling volunteers for our fire and our EMS services, and a need to fund a shift to more career staffing. And remember, as we do career staffing instead of volunteers, we got to figure out how to fit that into the budget. We did some of that already, but we're going to have to keep working on it gradually each year. We will do it in a way that's gradual to make sure that we can figure out how to fund this. In terms of fire staffing, in my first term, we fully funded going from 3 to 4 firefighters 24/7, right? So that has to cover 4 extra employees, because to get 24/7, you need 4? You need 3? You need 4, okay. We later promoted staff to have a lieutenant on every shift, so we have a command structure on every one of those shifts. And in 2023, we said thank you to retiring Chief Gary Van Voorhis and welcomed our new chief, Tom Lucchese. In terms of ambulance services, 2023 marked the first year where the city made a major budget commitment. It was $250,000, which we'd never had to pay before, for local EMS service, for a combination of a new contract with Ambulance, that's their name, to provide ALS, which is Advanced Life Support Ambulance Service, as well as funding BVAC, the Beacon Volunteer Ambulance Corps, to make improvements. That's probably going to be an ongoing commitment, and again, one we have to figure out how to cover. Other places in public safety are police services supplemented with mental health, domestic abuse, and addiction services added in my first term, service well. My 2024 budget added another cost-effective civilian police dispatcher, which frees up officers to be out in the community. And then finally, and then you can see this in the picture, our biggest and most obvious news is the thing across the street that's going up and looks great, right? So if you pass by Route 90 in Main Street, it's last June we broke ground on our largest capital project ever, a $14.6 million rehabilitation and expansion of the Beacon Fire Station. As mayor, I insisted we reuse an existing firehouse. Other proposals in the past, we had proposed building anew at a new site and a new structure. I just kept saying, nope, it's going there and it's going to be less expensive. That substantially reduced the cost and enabled investment in state-of-the-art fire safety and building efficiency, and avoided large tax increases. It is currently on schedule and on budget. I talked to the site manager today. It's looking like August. August? Yeah. And truly a pleasure to watch, especially now as the all-brick facade is being unveiled. Expect community tours in the fall. I just want to point out again, for perspective, our total property tax levy, meaning all the dollars that we collect from all our properties in Beacon, totals in the $12 to $13 million range. That's for a year. This project is $14 to $15 million, all right? So you got to figure out how you finance this. And then when you add the interest in, even at a low rate, you're talking $20 million-ish, okay? We've got it, all right? And we're going to do it in a way that puts gradual increases, and we've been basically banking some of the money each year in our fund balance, and we'll pay down a big piece. We have sales tax revenue that we think will provide a piece of it. We've been waiting for other bonding to be finished, so we have room in our budget to take that interest and payments we were doing to other bonds and apply it to these. All right, so I can assure you we've got this figured out. Okay? Next, I want to go to other infrastructure. So I think many of you have heard Chris talk about this. We've got $40 million of infrastructure work, 15 being the firehouse, but I'll talk to you about some of the rest. The city has hundreds of millions of dollars in critical infrastructure, 50-plus miles of roads and sidewalks, separate underground systems for water, sewer, and stormwater, 4 dams, 3 wells, water and wastewater treatment plants, a highway garage with heavy equipment, municipal buildings. Plus we have parks, fire, and police, but I'm going to discuss those elsewhere. Beacon's infrastructure is in the best shape it's been in a long time. Our budgets consistently prioritize long-term investment, and the city administrator maximizes non-city funding sources to avoid undue tax burden. And then some of those 40 million projects are underway, and I'm going to talk about a couple of them. The biggest one, and you've heard Chris discuss this, is rebuilding Route 52. The city began redesign work on Teller and Fishkill Avenues more than 20 years ago. This administration secured almost 100% federal and state financing. That's how you do this without raising taxes. Finished the right-of-way and other preparatory work and is awaiting bids on the projects. The current phase, which we think will come in at $8.8 million, will rebuild the road, the sidewalks and the curbs, plus some underground utility upgrades on Teller from Walcott, that's Washington's head, Washington's bust, to Main Street, and then on Fishkill Avenue from Main up to Memorial Park, that's Blackburn. We know we can get that far. We hope the bids are coming in this week?
On the 9th.
Okay, so they'll be in about a week. So we hope to begin construction there in this year, and then we will continue to seek funding to extend further up Fishkill Avenue all the way to the city border, but we're going to figure out how to raise the funds first, or at least most of the funds. In terms of wastewater and water infrastructure, we continue our long-term investment in drinking water and wastewater systems. A lot of that is going into the wastewater treatment plant in the next several years. That includes settling tanks. That's the thing on the top right in the picture. Those are settling tanks where the goo in the wastewater either goes down or is up and skimmed away. A dewatering system, a pump station for wastewater treatment. The pump station is on the bottom left. That's at the foot of West Main. And then finishing updates to 2 dams, and soon we'll begin rehabilitation of the Melzinga Dam. The Melzinga Dam is the one in the center. That one we're starting on this year, next year.
It depends on when DEC approves it.
Okay, so it's coming, and we got that planning in the works. The bottom right, and the thing in orange there is the person, and that's their vest, just to give you a sense of how big it is. Those are the pipes by the old Talix site on Fishkill
Hannah
Ave.
Lane.
Yeah, so that's wastewater. We're also doing paving and sidewalks. We do it every year. We repaved 14 more streets in 2023. Wolcott 90, Alice, Cross, Eliza, Green, Harbor Hill, Hillside, Maddox, Robin, South Davies, University, West Church, and Willow. We added new sidewalks on South Avenue Park and elsewhere, but that was our focus. And then we did the railings as well on the Creekside Boardwalk at Madam Brett Park, right? So you've got some of the street repavings on the left. You've got one of the sidewalks. We were redoing a tree on Main Street. That's the boardwalk at Madam Brett Park at the bottom in the center. Top right is South Avenue, right? That's the sidewalk going in?
Yes.
Okay. And of course, we keep fixing the dummy light, right? So again, we repaired the beloved dummy light, and we're trying out new striping. That's them trying to put in the new striping and hoping to steer vehicles clear of it. I'm not holding my breath. So let's go on. Let's talk about quality of life. So in 2023, we continued to make substantial advances in our quality of life initiatives. Funded in part from new construction, as I've mentioned, we continue to implement the city's comprehensive plan, which is focusing on Main Street's long-term success, along with environmentally sustainable density in a few areas, and even a rethink of Route 52. On Main Street, the Mayor's Main Street Access Committee wrapped up its meetings. The city has been implementing quick wins. We've got a number of places with much better signage. We've put in a bunch of stop signs, pedestrian crossings. We've done some striping. We're going to be doing some striping this year on the side streets.
Yes.
Okay. And then the bump outs in Main Street that slow traffic. We created numerous parking spots with simple changes in 2023. And we've also started spiffing up the light poles. I think we were halfway through that. In terms of walkability, my wife found this. Beacon received a Walker's Paradise rating of 96 out of 100 from Walk Score, which compared to an average score of 48 for New York State. We are working with the county's public transit system right now on increased options on the 3 bus routes in June 2024. We think we've got an agreement with them, but we're trying to work out the details. We've got a rail trail coming. We've successfully encouraged the county to consider expanding the rail trail system with Metro North's former Beacon line, which runs from our train station along Fishkill Creek, Main Street, and Route 52, and then north to Hopewell. That connects into the Empire State Rail system all the way to Buffalo and the Canadian border. Dutchess County Planning has kicked off a feasibility study at our request this year, and so we're expecting that to do their work this year, and we believe that's the start of an exciting decade-long project. At the same time, I formed a new mayor's committee to look at how the former car dealership section of Route 52 might evolve, and to suggest concepts such as improving the streetscape and walkability, connecting to future biking, hiking on adjacent rail trail, and building a connector road to the high school in the Camp Beacon area. In addition, in the past year, we've done park improvements, which we've been doing every single year. Those are our most popular resources, and the improvements in 2023 focused on Memorial and Green Street parks, including reopening of public restrooms, and we installed new basketball backboards and nets at South Avenue Park. In 2024, we're going to be rebuilding the We Play Tot Park at Memorial Park with a new play structure, new surface, new fencing, and site amenities. And then we'll also be renovating South Avenue Park, where we'll be resurfacing the tennis and basketball courts and putting in a new restroom. In terms of recreation programming, since I became mayor, the recreation budget has doubled to more than $1 million. The 2024 budget included a record 17% increase for recreation. That enabled the city to add a new full-time staff member and to expand after-school, summer camp, and other programs. And remember, we're doing this and staying under the tax cap. As you just heard from Amy and MJ, the city strongly supports the Hudson Highlands Fjord Trail to connect Beacon and Cold Spring. We're collaborating on a future trail maintenance facility on unused property, as you heard, at our transfer station, and we are also making progress on the mayor's concept of creating a greenway loop trail on the east side of Fishkill Creek. When, Mirabeau has broken ground on their construction, and that piece of the east side puzzle is in their site plan of their project. And then also in terms of affordable housing, Beacon is a Hudson Valley leader in effective affordable housing, with roughly 30% of our rental units already in affordable programs today. That is second only to the city of Poughkeepsie in our county. We are working with the county to redevelop the Main Street parking lot of its motor vehicle building for affordable housing. That's the one on the corner of South Elm and Main. And we recently submitted a letter of intent to New York State to become a pro-housing community. And in terms of climate leadership, I want to start by saying I remain committed to making Beacon a model of sustainability for the Hudson Valley. We have been a silver certified climate smart community since 2020, 21? 20, all right? Just to give you a sense of what that means, so we were the second one in the state to get silver status. Silver status is the highest status. There isn't a gold. That is it. There are 4 counties that have silver status, 2 villages, 2 towns, and 2 cities in all of New York State, right? The only other city is Kingston. Counties, we can't compete with them. But, when a whole county does it, bless them. The 2 villages are both in Westchester, the 2 towns are both in Westchester, and they're pretty more affluent than we are. So I think we're doing okay. But for us to be truly climate smart, which is what our silver certified climate smart community says we are, we have to prioritize what matters most and find ways to achieve those goals over time without overburdening taxpayers. Right? And that's going to be the trick, right? We could all want to do all of it all at once, but we kind of have to prioritize it. Let me give you some of the pieces that we've got in place. First off, we're 100% renewable electric, right? We already had about 80% of our electric coming from our own solar farm on our landfill. To the extent we have any additional needs, and that's shrinking over time as we build more solar on city property, we buy the rest by doing renewable energy credits. We are continuing to implement our green fleet policy that adds both all-electric and hybrid vehicles to the city's fleet each year. We also continue to monitor emissions from city operations, and we're installing additional EV charging stations in public parking lots. The bottom right picture on this page is me getting a charge out of the latest EV lot. As you heard, our central fire station will be amongst the most environmentally sustainable in the Hudson Valley. It's an all-electric station. It features geothermal heating and cooling. It uses a large number of wells dug in the adjacent parking lot, which is what we had to do to that parking lot before we resurface it. It has high-efficiency installation, natural lighting, and an additional electric vehicle charging stations coming as that lot gets redone. In 2024, we also look forward to installing a solar panel array on the highway garage, which will give us an incremental generation of renewable electric. And then we're also launching a community solar program with Mid-Hudson Energy Transition. In terms of municipal composting, the city recently composted in 2023 upwards of 100,000 pounds that we diverted from our trash into our composting. And we are expecting that to grow further. And then once again, we welcome the Green Team Beacon, which is a program of the Cornell Cooperative Extension, that's them in the middle there, and supported them in planting pollinator flower gardens on city properties. And then finally, we planted even more trees in 2023 at Memorial and South Avenue Parks and on Main Street. This year, we also initiated a new program in addition to our own tree planting as a city, where we offered Beacon property owners the opportunity to purchase and plant trees at almost 50% off the retail price. It's been fairly successful, and I'll ask you how we did. You would tell us now, or?
37 trees we sold.
And that's the public doing it,
That's
in
the
addition to
public.
ours.
Yeah, so we'll be over 50 trees this year.
Great. All right, thank you. Then finally, I want to talk about good government. I think none of this gets done unless there is a professional, kind of objective, doing the right thing, taking their time government. Beacon's form of government has a part-time mayor who manages a full-time professional city administrator. I really, really believe in that form of government. It truly works. And the people who came up with this almost 40 years ago, when we redid our charter, my hats are off to them. I believe residents, taxpayers, and employees deserve a professionally run city, one that uses taxpayers' funds effectively, that empowers department managers and develops our employees. We have an outstanding city administrator. He wrote that, I didn't write that. I wrote that. Let's be really clear. And we use outside professional services for our city attorney, our city planner, and our city engineer. And that's because I want objective advice, and I want good, strong advice. I believe in empowering managers and encouraging robust debates on priorities and how to get things done, and I believe we get much better results and more satisfied employees. Let me just a couple of specifics, and then I'll wrap up. In terms of transparency, we strive to make all city, board, and committee meetings open to the public, well-publicized, viewable online, and by tape on local cable, with opportunity for public comment. Don't worry, your public comment's coming right after me, right? We continue to successfully attract professional and well-trained employees. That includes a new city planner, a new building inspector, fire chief, and city clerk in the last year, and quality additions in multiple departments that broaden our diversity. Our full-time HR director has helped leverage the city administrator and the mayor, and has updated and standardized employee policies to effectively support our 130-plus full-time, seasonal, part-time workforce. Then just some final words. In closing, as I said at the start, the state of Beacon is excellent. I am truly proud of the work we've accomplished together in the past year and during my 4+ years as mayor. More remains to be done, but let's take a moment to review our progress with some perspective and to appreciate what's been done. This past year, I helped organize a meeting and discussion with 4 current and former mayors, Beacon mayors, whose tenures covered the last 35 years of Beacon's history. So that was Claire Lou Gould, Steve Gold, Randy Casal, and myself. There's a photo of us on the prior page. Now that's truly a long view in terms of perspective. One of the things that clearly rang out from the conversation was just a simple formula for progress, regardless of politics, partisanship, and short-term travails, which was have a shared vision of where we want to go, provide city services well, keep tax increases modest, and keep patiently heading toward that vision. You're not going to get it all done at once, but you can see where we've been, and it's taken us 30 years, but it's a pretty amazing journey. I want to thank the City Council, the employees of the city, including our department heads and our city administrator, who make it all happen, as well as the residents who volunteer their time for the city and the community in so many ways. I love Beacon, and it has been my deep commitment of community service for more than 3 decades, and it is truly an honor to serve you as mayor. So thank you.